Okay, so welcome to our anniversary meeting. Yeah, 32 years of MacGroup-Detroit, which is pretty amazing. This also helps me remember how long I've been married, because I got married in September of '86. So I know that next month I have a wedding anniversary to deal with. So, how it all started. Back in 1986, Terry White had the idea of getting a group of like-minded users and people together to talk about Macs, to talk about how to use them, and I would say he was pretty successful at doing this. So we've got him to thank for this, or we have him to blame for this. We can go either way with it. So I'm going to have a slight mini topic about 32 years of MacGroup-Detroit. We've had some very well-known presenters show up. In this case, Steve Wozniak himself has been here twice. My son and daughter still talk about being able to say that they had dinner with him when we went over to Shields for pizza. And that's some of their biggest brags to some of their friends. Great picture of Mike Arlo and Terry and Steve at Shields, as a matter of fact. Bunch of happy people that day. So, Apple Milestones. From 1998 until 2008, 20 years in the making, Apple just celebrated another milestone. On the 15th of August, we had something change our worlds and probably change a lot of people's worlds. And that was the iMac. So starting from the first generation in Bondi Blue, working through all those different G3 models, into the G4 models back in 2002, then going to the G5 models, and then when you get to the lower row, we end up hitting the Intel machines. In 2007, we got the aluminum, got rid of the white plastic, and then went to all aluminum in 2009, and then in 2012, we got the Skinny Macs, where the things are just so darn light, they weigh half of what they used to weigh. So pretty amazing the way the technology of Apple is rolled out and how it's been able to work for us over the years. Another milestone back in 2007, which when someone mentioned to me, hey, what if Apple made a phone? My response was, that's the dumbest thing in the world. No, we're a computer company. I mean, we got iPods, but a phone? Why would we want to get into that business? Stock closing at $214 the other day is probably why. And then when we find in our history that originally the idea was to create the iPad first, but they took the gamble and said, let's make this a phone. Because if we can turn this into a computer, a portable unit like this, we can do that and just expand the size. So back in, I believe it was February of 2010 when they made the announcement for the iPads, it was pretty amazing. I was actually in Pennsylvania going to pick up my dog from a breeder, and we stopped at a Subway, and I'm on my iPhone looking it up and reading all about it and doing the holy crap, they actually did it. So it's been a fun ride for me, as well as I'm sure everyone else here. And I actually had a conversation with Eddie Q of Apple, who wrote back and congratulated us on our anniversary, said it's really great that we've made it this far, and told me that right after he started with Apple, the first thing he did was join a user group. So apparently user groups do have connections inside of the corporate world of Apple, and sort of a neat thing. In this picture that was in a magazine article, the one thing that I liked a lot was the red guitar that's next to him was a special edition put together under the product Red that Apple's been very, very busy with, and has collected millions of dollars for helping people with illness. The one thing that really tickled me, though, was the acoustic guitar up on the wall with the sound hole in the shape of the Apple logo. And that was a gift to him from Jimmy Buffett, who had Martin Guitars make a Steve Jobs model. And inside there, you can see there's a picture. It was a tribute to Steve Jobs, as well as having the logo as the sound hole. Don't know how it sounds, but sure looks interesting to me. Everyone here is a member. Some of the members are volunteers. And for the volunteers that we have, I'd like to offer a special thanks to Brian Stone, to Shar Stone, Kelvin Carson, Jack Beckman, Phyllis Evans, as well as a number of other people that also help out making our group what it is. Obviously, we wouldn't have a group if you weren't here. And so, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for showing up. But these folks have just gone above and beyond, donating their time and talents to make this organization run as smoothly as it has. So I'd like everyone to give these guys a round of applause. Okay. And I have a very special thanks to Sheeta Hunter. I had notes that I can't see because of our new video system. So, Sheeta is one of those people, as we've all seen her do her presentations. She takes command of the room. She makes things go. She enables everyone to learn something. She has done that with myself by giving me advice on how to do presentations, because when I started doing this, I was completely terrified of public speaking. Completely terrified of my presentation's going to suck. But she has given me advice over the years, some of it well received, some of it not so well received, but it's been well intentioned, and it has made me a better person for being able to do this and look at all these faces and know that I'm with friends, not with people that can't wait to get out the door. So, Sheeta, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for being my teacher. Okay. And then to everyone here, thank you, MacGroup-Detroit, for the 32 years you've been around and helping everybody learn how to share and learn how to use the Apple products, because I think everyone here is probably fully entrenched into that ecosystem, and for good reasons. So again, thank you very much for coming. I hope to see you come again in the future, and if you could bring somebody with you next time, that would be awesome. So, okay. So, this next part, I'm hoping goes as smoothly as I'm anticipating, but we'll see. Okay, so this month's topic is pretty much tips and tricks on Macs and on iOS devices. So that video, my understanding was played at the Worldwide Developers Conference, and it's pretty amazing what our simple products that we use probably on a daily basis, how they help us, how they help people older than us, and how they help people younger than us. And being creative is probably the reason why we're using Apple products. So, my first tip, which it was surprising when I learned this, because this was something I only learned like a year ago. When you log on your computer and you see all the login screens, or the names of the different user accounts on there, instead of using your trackpad or dragging the mouse over to each name and clicking on it, wouldn't it be easier if there was a faster way to do that? The faster way to do it would be to type the first letter of the name that you want to get to. By doing that, it highlights that name, and then all you have to do is enter your password and hit enter. I found this out when my wireless mouse died, and I didn't have any other way. And I'm like, how do I get in? And it was one of those, I hit the keyboard by mistake and went, oh wait, I can do that. And then I found if you have multiple names that start with the same first letter, what you can do, type the first two letters of the name, and it'll bring up that user account. Then you can just hit enter, type in the password, hit enter again. So instead of moving the mouse, sliding it around, getting to where you want to go, this is an amazing way to get right into it. So that's a great way for logging in to save time. I have found that keyboard shortcuts definitely are very, very helpful. One of the other neat things is seeing how many programs you have running at the same time. Now, we can all look at the dock and count the little dots underneath the icons, but there's another way to do it too. So I'm going to pop out of this for a second. So if you hold Command and hit Tab, it shows everything that you've got open. And if you hold Command and tap on Tab, it will let you go to that application you want to get to. So I want to go back to Keynote, and by doing that, that puts me back into Keynote again. So if you've got a number of programs running at the same time, it's helpful. It's also helpful if you don't know you have a bunch of programs running at the same time, and you're trying to figure out, why is the computer running slow? I'm pleased to say, if you have an iPad Pro and you have either the Apple keyboard connected to it or the Logitech keyboard connected to it, that same thing works and will let you do that in your iPad Pro. I'm not sure if it'll do it in the basic iPad, but I know in my iPad Pro, I can do Command Tab, and I can see all the programs that I've got up and running. It will, okay. And then Command and then Tap Tab will let you hop over to the app that you really want to be in instead of trying to search for it. So again, another time saver all the way around. So I think this is something useful. So, show of hands, how many people have taken a screenshot on their computer? Okay, so we know the first tip. That's the whole darn screen. Most people know the second tip. That way you can highlight a certain section. Cool. Third tip. Do the second tip and then tap on the space bar and then select the window, and it will do that without you having to drag the icon over the window to pull it up. I think that's really cool. This next one, I just learned last week. Command-Shift-6. Okay, good. A couple of people like, what? I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, Command Shift 6? I've never heard of that one. Gosh, I'm a smart person. I've been around Apple a long time. How many people have a new MacBook Pro with the touch bar? Okay, so the new MacBook Pro with touch bar, it takes an image of your touch bar for you. So if you are doing something and you want to save that image, this does it for you. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh, that's sorcery. What's going on here? That's just... But I tried it at work and did the, oh, that's really cool. And then I started showing it to everybody else at work. And they were the same thing. They're like, okay, I didn't know that. And it's one of those, you might not need to use it very often, but if you're having issues with the touch bar or you're not sure what's going on, it's not a bad way to go. Okay.
So what happened to 5?
They didn't want to use 5. So, how many times have you been listening to something on your computer and you wanted to adjust the sound and it was just that too soft or too loud? There is a very neat feature built in. Pardon? Actually, quarter steps. So, if you hold down Option and Shift while adjusting the volume, you get microcontrol. I am not a fan of the term granular, but this is granular all the way around. So, to show you how that works, so that's where I'm at. I'm going to go up. There's a quarter, there's another quarter, there's 3/4, there's full. So you can do that. Hopefully you can see that, but you can try that tonight when you get home. It is amazing. And I was quite pleased by seeing that.
How come auto control doesn't work?
Well, I'm not into iTunes right now, so we'll come back later maybe and see what we can do. So the next thing is, do you want to adjust your brightness? You do the same thing to gain microcontrol over the brightness level of your screen. So I'll pop back out of this again. So Option, Shift, and I can do I just want half a step. So 1, 2, and I've got a little more brightness. I don't think it really affects on the screen. But on my screen, it definitely affects it. I do not think, oh, it does work with the keyboard backlight too. So if late at night you're using it and the keyboard backlight's a little too bright, you can kick it down with the Option Shift as well. Okay, that was something I was not aware of, but cool. Okay, moving on. This is going to go into iOS things. So iPhones, iPads, iPod Touches. And these are things that are in iOS 11. If you are not in iOS 11, just sit quietly. If you are in iOS 11, these might be useful to you. Okay, there is a feature as Save as PDF. Okay, we're used to doing that on the Mac. How do we do this on the phone? To do it on the phone, you would tap the box that has the up arrow, that icon, and then you can choose under one of the things that are listed there to create a PDF and then save. So if you are in an email and you would like to save that email as a PDF, that's how you do it. So let's show you how that works.
That's the share.
Yep. So, in here, where is it? Perhaps I'm wrong. Slowly we get there. Apparently I have the wrong file. I am sorry. So when you'll get the share icon, so that's the box with the up arrow.
You need to select something.
Right, I've got to pick something. So let me find something. Text and an email and then share?
Yeah.
Okay. Share at the end. And then under more, I believe. No. I'm listening. Sure. Do what now? Okay. Okay. Done. Ah, there's our box at the top. Yep, sharing under more. Okay. Good. Okay. Save the files. Okay. It will. Okay. So I want to save it to iCloud Drive. Add. And now it's a PDF on my iCloud Drive. Okay. Okay. Oh. And there's my file that we just saved, and it went into the files folder. Perfect. Okay. Got it. So it'll ask you what folder you want to put it to. If you put it to iCloud Drive, I'll show you in a second what that does. Okay, this is my wife's favorite feature in the entire world, because she believes no one should be in their car driving and texting. Okay, no arguments. There is For some of us that have enabled this, when you get in your car and it syncs with the Bluetooth, it will then give a message saying you cannot get any text at that point because you're driving. So in settings, do not disturb. If you enable that, people trying to contact you via text will receive a message that you are driving. There is a pre-canned message that Apple put together. You can customize that message. So if you don't want to use the, "I'm sorry, I'm unavailable to respond right now. I will contact you once I am done driving." If you don't want to do that, you can change your message to whatever you want it to say, which could be dangerous, but I think it's a really good one. So again, once you connect to the Bluetooth in your car, the phone makes that connection, because it should auto make that connection for you if you've paired it up to your car, and it should do that. So let me show you. So coming down to Do Not Disturb under Settings, and I have it, if you look where it says Activate, it shows you can have it automatically or when connected to car Bluetooth, or you can do it manually. I leave it on when connected to car Bluetooth, so when I hop in my truck and start my truck up, the phone pairs to the stereo via the Bluetooth and then allows the phone to then put it into the safety mode, in my opinion, to not have any text messages come through while I'm driving. Now, if I unlock my phone once I'm in the car, I will get a message along the bottoms, and it'll ask me, the top button says, "I am not driving." So that way, if I hop in the car and my wife is driving, it's still going to block it unless I press that button. And then if I press that button, then I can get text messages coming in while I'm driving. But I prefer not to be distracted, so that's why I leave it on. But down at the bottom here, I can choose who gets a message from me. So I can say, don't auto reply to anyone, or I can do it to just recent texts that I've had, or I can have, in my case, I've got it set to my favorites. Or I can set it to any contact I have in my phone. But I prefer to just leave it with the favorites, because if someone else is texting me, I don't want to know. There is a workaround on this. If there is an emergency and they really want you to get that text message, if the next text starts with the word urgent, that will go through. That seems to be the magic word to allow that text message to jump through the system. Next up is something that I deal with probably on a daily basis with a lot of people who don't realize that they've done this, and it's usually by accident. There is a Do Not Disturb feature that is a complete lockdown on your phone. There's two ways to enable it. The first way is go to Settings, Do Not Disturb, and up at the top of that, you can if I do that, enable the Do Not Disturb, that puts it into complete lockdown. No text come through, no phone calls come through. Phone calls go right to voicemail. You don't hear any text alarms. You don't get any notifications whatsoever. This is the feature that a lot of people say, oh, theater mode, or you're at church or at temple or someplace where you really don't want to have your phone quacking in the middle of a service. So by having that on there, what it does is up next to the battery and the percentage, you'll see a little crescent moon. That means you have enabled Do Not Disturb. So a lot of people say, well, I didn't go in and click that button and make that change. And I say, yeah, you probably didn't. But what you probably did is you swiped up, and right in the middle, there's that purple crescent moon. If I do that, it turns off Do Not Disturb. A lot of people have done this by accident, reaching into their pocket or their purse or their bag, and when they pull the phone out, they've accidentally unlocked it. That's gone up, and they've accidentally hit the moon. And that explains why they haven't received a phone call in 3 days, and their children have come over to their house because they can't get any text messages or phone calls to them. So it's a little embarrassing, but it's just an accident. It's human. So hopefully that's helpful to somebody. Maybe explaining to someone why their phone isn't working the way it should be, or why their phone might not be doing this. So, again, if someone sends urgent, it'll show up in the next text. It will come through. So, but that's typically someone in your favorites list that will happen. If I texted Ken, he's not in my favorites, I'm not in his, and I send an urgent and he's got Do Not Disturb, he won't get anything. But if my wife sent me a text and put in urgent, she knows it'll pop up on my phone no matter where I'm driving. So it's a nice feature. No. Just the word urgent, yeah. So, you were asking about when we were trying to save that one file, and where does it go? So iCloud Drive, on everybody that is running iOS 11, iCloud Drive now syncs with the Files folder. And there is an app on your phone. Right up in the corner here, the upper left corner, looks like a folder. That's called Files. In that folder, when you tap on it, is everything that is in your iCloud Drive. So the nice thing is, anything that is up there is accessible through that folder, instead of, oh, let me open Pages, let me scroll through to find the one thing I'm looking for. Is this it? Let me open it, let me check. This now gives you a faster way to access that file that maybe you want to send off to somebody. If you were working, the best example I have is, okay, I've had my resume here, and I saw something online, and I want to pop it off. Instead of having to open up iCloud and getting access to the file and going from there, I can just grab it from the iCloud Drive through the Folders app, which is a time saver all in itself. So that's a good thing. There's also at the bottom a browse feature, which will let you look and see what you have. So I have one thing in iCab Mobile. I have one thing in Pages. So I can go into there and pull something up. So if I was saved an article from iCab Mobile, and it'll keep it here, I can then access it quickly so I can shoot it off to somebody if the opportunity arises and it pops in my head, they want to see it. So I'm going to get back out of that. So it does Pages, Numbers, Keynotes, any of those programs. That's saved up in your iCloud Drive. That's what Apple has done to try to make it a little easier for everybody to have access to that. Plus, it'll put PDF files in there. It supposedly will work with third-party cloud-based storage, as in like iCab Mobile. I have not tested that yet to see if that would work in Dropbox. Yes?
I saved this everything.
Okay.
I download images from my mobile Lightroom to that files folder.
Oh.
Access them.
Okay.
They'll come in as a DNG from Lightroom.
Right.
Any other way they will come to JPEG. I have all kinds of files. It's not just those three.
Okay.
PDFs,
So I would assume that because it's saved as a DMG file, they've compressed it, so then you could then forward it off someplace else without sending a gigantic file.
Correct, but
Okay.
the reason I use MacGroup is so I can get DMG files because of the data.
Okay.
It does not compromise the data in it.
Well, good.
So I can send it to files and then just download.
Oh, okay. Yes.
When you have a file in those three applications pages,
Right.
when you change it on your computer, it will also update on your device.
Yes.
If you put that file anywhere else, it will not update.
Right. I found that out the hard way. I had a file that I was working on, and I'm saving it on the computer. I'm good. Thinking I was saving it in iCloud. And then when I went to pull the file up, it was, oh, I swore I had it here, and it was not there. So that can happen. So you decide where you want your files to live. Decide, is this something that if they, somehow they pull this up and it's on the news tonight, do I care? Then iCloud's wonderful for that.
Is that only from pages?
So supposedly, it will let you move Word files and Excel files and other types of files you can drop in there, but you have to manually drop those into iCloud Drive.
What if you want to make sure that what you're saving is a Dropbox file?
Well, then you would use Dropbox for that.
The Files app does work well with all sorts of third-party things. I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different third-party file systems.
Okay. But if you were looking to put something in Dropbox, you would put it there first, and then the Files app would be able to see your Dropbox account if you had it linked in, correct?
You can do it either way.
Okay. So you could...
Either way, the Dropbox is one of the ones that it supports. You could go to Files and navigate to Dropbox and save
And drop it right... Oh, so that would save a step. All right.
If it supports using it completely.
Oh. Well, there's an option for you.
I've got OneDrive. I've even got things like Bevan Think Pro, if any of you are users of that. It's an organization system. You can even get to that right from the files.
That's amazing.
They have a third-party plugin for that.
Use ScanTop with files all the time.
Okay. So, more useful than even I thought it was. Even better. Okay. This is one of... Somebody mentioned to me today about accessibility and mentioned some of the different things that you can do with your iOS devices. And this is the one that I honestly use daily. Not because I can't find my glasses, not because I'm too lazy to squint and look at something. No. In my job, I get to look at essentially 2-point type on a daily basis. And I am usually looking at 2-point type that is, gray on black. Or it's charcoal on silver. Or pink on red. I really would like to find a certain designer at corporate and take him for a very long walk. No. I believe out in the woods would be better. On a short pier, they can wash back up. I would like to see that they fertilize the world. And the reason being, this should be good. I think I can. Yes. Okay. So, you're looking at something that's really hard to read. Whether it's in a magazine or you're reading a serial number off the back of an iPhone or out of the SIM tray. It's difficult. So, there is a feature called Magnification. If you go into Settings, go to General, and go to Accessibility, you can scroll down or up to Magnifier. Magnifier is the feature. And when you enable Magnifier and then triple tap your home button, or for people that have an iPhone 10, triple tap the side button, the power button, it will give you the ability to zoom in. So, I have some stuff here. Well, let's say I want to, if I pinch and zoom, I can really zoom in. Or if I hit the shutter, I'm not taking a photo. What I've done is I've frozen the image. By freezing that image, I can then pinch and zoom, because while I don't read German, I know that what that's saying is USB 3 compatible and Thunderbolt compatible and all these neat things. So it makes life pretty easy. And then out here, I can also use a slider to zoom in and out as well if I don't want to do the pinch. You can also tap on this and you can adjust your white level or color levels. So to capture the image, I'm using the magnifier feature in accessibilities. I triple tap on my home button and then I hold it over what I want, and then the shutter icon, the yellow circle in the middle, if you tap that, it'll grab an image. There are times when I've had shaky hands and I get a poor image. That happens. So you just tap the shutter thing again, and then you just try a second time. And again, that will let you do that, and then you can zoom in if you need to look at it. In some cases, it's very small. But it will give you a nice crystal clear image if you catch it just right. So you can also enable the flash if you need to use the flash while you're trying to catch that image. So anybody that has worked on an automobile and you're underneath the car and you're trying to read what the sticker says, this is a great way to do it. And if it's in the dark, you can enable the flash to take the picture and grab that image for you. So, or if you're trying to reach behind a kitchen sink to see what the model number for the faucet is, hey, here's another way to do this as well. So it has a lot of uses, I think, all the way around. Steve?
You can also enable that using the
Yes. Yep, no, you're right, yeah. So there are a lot of features in accessibility that just make people's lives easier, whether you're someone with perhaps a disability or not. There are a ton of features in there that just make it better. If you have to enable magnifier first, okay? So the little magnifying glass at the bottom with the plus sign in the middle. Okay, so then, are you on iOS 11?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Right, so you just have to pick one. Since you're using two things that require the triple tap, that's probably why you're not getting that there. Okay.
You might get your hearing aid to choose as well.
Perhaps. So that's the big feature with magnification, which I just think is great. This is the one that my wife taught me. When you are going to type something, say in a text message or in an email, there's a microphone app icon. And let me go to notes. So, if I tap on the microphone next to the space bar, I can record whatever I need to have recorded, period. Or I can ask questions, question mark. And then what I did is I pressed on the keyboard below and that stopped the recording. So that spells out everything you have that's there. Now, the one thing that I did learn, and that my wife, the English teacher, grammar person, likes to tell me. So I did the keyboard, selected the microphone. All right, spoke my reply. Cool. The one thing you have to do is you have to use, where's my note? Sorry. Use punctuation. Because you have to pause at the end of your sentence and say period or question mark, comma. Your message will look like you know what you are doing and not a run-on sentence. And she said, are you really going to say that to those people today? And I said, yes, I am. So that's a feature that is fantastic. I would not use this to dictate a novel, but if you're just trying to reply to a text and you're a little busy and you don't have time to type it all in, this is a time saver all the way around. Steve, just a moment, please. Stephen?
Always, right?
Yes. Yes. Right. Because autocorrect is not your friend. It really isn't. So. Yes. And I have found everyone speaks differently. Everyone has different inflections in their voice. One of the guys I work with says, you know, the best thing I've ever found with Siri, or when you're using like a dictation feature, is to talk like a robot. You sound silly, but Siri just picks it all up and just is right on it, and everything's accurate. You just sound silly saying it. But we've done it in the store, we've tested it out that way, and yep, it sure works really well that way. I'm not going to do that. I will let you do that if you would like. So, yeah. So, so those are some of the tips and stuff that I had worked out for today. Yes.
You had a control panel, and it has brightness and audio thing.
Yes.
And that's where you do fine adjustment on your phone with your application doesn't.
Correct. Yep. So if I go back to that, so I can kick my brightness down or kick it all the way up, depending on where you want to have it. Full brightness goes through your battery faster than maybe half brightness. I have had people come in and their brightness is here. So on my phone, because you can't see it on the screen, it's hard to see anything. I typically like to have it where I can see stuff. But the volume, you can also adjust the volume there as well. And kick it up and down. The control center, obviously, you've got your different features. The one thing I do like, and this will drive my wife crazy, I can go to the Home app from Control Center. So, we're going to turn on lights. And that ought to just make her do the, what is he doing? So I've turned on 3 lights in the house from here. And I really like that. Not because it's annoying her, well, maybe. But it's just one of those things that I like. No, you can add things to the Control Center in Settings and Control Center. You can go in and add different things to it. So if you tap Customize Controls, it'll give you a number of options to choose from. So if you want different things on there, you can do that. I put it right there. So I know someone that is always using voice memos, and they put that in their Control Center, so they can quickly get to it because it's buried inside of a folder on their screen already. And they thought, well, that was dumb, but they also have one screen. They don't believe in more than one screen. I have 4. So you can have as many or as little as you'd like, but that would allow you to go through and play with it and make the corrections that fit your needs all the way around. So, with that being said, that is my presentation for this month. I decided to make this a very short one because it is an anniversary meeting. So, what we will do, because we did not do this at the beginning of the meeting, we will now take questions and answers and move along from there. Donna? Yes. So what Donna is asking is, there is a feature called screen recording on the phone, and when you use that, it will capture the image of what is on your screen. So what some people will use screen recording for is a FaceTime call. They will enable that so they can record the call and save it. So, where does it go? That is a very good question. Sorry? Camera roll. Because it thinks it's a photo or a video. So that's an option that you've...
And please continue to do that situation for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My wife asked me before I left to come here, and she said, there's in the far end of our house, I get a computer signal from our, I guess it's the router at the other end of the house, but it drops occasionally. And she said, what's the best way to get it into that room? And I said, I read about like repeaters, or there's a way you can plug in your electrical system.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what generally people did to get the signal.
You are going to want to be here in October, without a doubt. So you don't want to miss this one. So in October, we're going to talk about mesh Wi-Fi networks, because the way it was done before is you would have, say, an Airport Extreme someplace in your house feeding off the Wi-Fi, but you have a dead zone in one part of the house. So you would put an extender or a repeater to boost the signal in that area. The Apple solution in the past used to be you would buy an Airport Express, bridge it to that, boom, and there you go. Now you've got coverage in the other room because it boosted it up enough where you would get a reliable signal all the time. Since mesh networks started out a few years ago, they now eliminate that issue and make it real easy to use. There are a number of different mesh network systems out there. Apple does not have one. Matter of fact, Apple has stopped promoting and producing the Airport Extreme, the Time Capsules, and the Airport Express. If you have one, they still work, and that's great. But with the mesh network being such a viable option for a lot of people, people are going that route because if you have an older home, maybe made with plaster and real wood and multi-levels, the mesh network is a great way to have good connection throughout the entire home. One of our members, her home is mostly concrete. Really nice, like mid-century modern type home. It's a beautiful place, but she doesn't get Wi-Fi through her house. And her complaint has always been, I can't get Wi-Fi in the bedroom at the other end of the house because the airport's in the living room. And it's because of the concrete. And so her workaround was to set up additional systems to get what your wife would like to have happening. The mesh network the beauty behind, from what I've seen so far, you've got your system, and in another room, you just plug this module in the wall, and it talks to the other one, and it bumps the signal up. And if your house is that big, you can put a third one in, or a fourth one. But usually, one module will do about 2,000 square feet. But again, depending on what your home is made of, you might need a second one just to bump it up a little bit. And I believe in October, Mr. Carson is going to do a presentation on mesh networks through, I believe it's Comcast, is rolling one out, and I think he's beta testing one. Terry White has switched over to the Linksys VLOP system, or VLOP. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. There are some other ones. I'm looking at one currently. The company is called Eero. They offer a mesh network system. There's probably a dozen different companies that are doing this. And so I'm just carefully going through deciding what's best for me, because my wife has the same complaint your wife has. She's in the back room and she sits at the fireplace. It's a dead zone. If she gets up and moves 3 feet either side of that fireplace, she has connection. But when she sits down on the hearth right in front of the fireplace, it's a dead zone. And it's strange because it's at the back of a 40-foot long room. It's a big room. Anywhere else in that room, you're good. But you sit down in that fireplace and nothing. No. So, yeah, so October is going to be a big way to go if you're looking for a possibility upgrading your wireless in your house. I think you're going to like it a lot.
May I ask one other question?
Certainly.
Webmail.
Okay.
I was having some problems. I had an old antique computer.
Okay.
And I was talking with a person at GoDaddy who handles another part of our system. He said my problem stems from the fact that I'm trying to use an iMac, which is an older part of Webmail, I guess. And he said our system is set up to take off Exchange, and the translation wasn't working. So he said, I'll send you this link. He said, I usually use Webmail a lot myself. And so I clicked on the link, and then Outlook appeared on my Mac computer screen.
Right.
And then a minute or so later, all the emails popped up.
Right.
And so my question is like Webmail, I read a critique of it. It said when you're using Webmail, you really should make a blind carbon copy so that it shows up on your computer. But yet somehow the way he sent that link, I could see the file. So I didn't quite completely understand what Webmail is versus, say, Apple.
Well, Jack.
First off, when they told you that IMAP was older, that's not true. IMAP is the most current. Exchange is a proprietary way of doing things used by Microsoft. To get to Webmail, all that is somebody wrote an HTML page that interfaces with their mail system. That's all Webmail is. It's just a web page into somebody's mail system. And depending on their mail system, they can act completely differently from the next guy's webmail into his mail system. So it's not easy to compare webmail between one and the other. There's no such thing as webmail as any sort of standard. It's just a front end into somebody's mail system. So the fact that what you were using, were you probably going through a third party to get to their mail? Were you going through like Gmail or something? Because if it was their webmail, you wouldn't have had an issue.
Yeah, my son's computer wasn't working right, so somebody came in with an IBM system. That's how he set it up with Microsoft Exchange. So something happened with an upgrade or something that I had done And I had this old G5 Mac with PowerPC chips.
Right.
It somehow just stopped. It could see in Apple Mail, I could see all the mail.
Right.
But when I went to try to send something, it would say, there's a failure. It wouldn't print the whole thing.
Right. So Apple Mail is an email client. So it's one way to get your email to come into there and work from there. There are other email clients, and those are programs that run it. So typically, Webmail is, oh, I want to check my Comcast mail. Let me get on Safari. Let me go to Comcast and log in. And that's their interface for Webmail. But it's a completely different one than going over to Yahoo and logging in, or AOL, or whatever it was set up with. And that's, I believe, what Jack was saying. It's just their page. And this guy, I am assuming, is comfortable in Exchange.
Right. He said,
And set up Exchange because he was comfortable in Exchange. Not even asking you, hey, have you used Exchange before? Are you familiar with Outlook? He just set it up that way to make his life easy. So, and Exchange has been around forever. Because typical for email, there are two flavors. You have IMAP and you have POP. So of those flavors of email, POP emails, when you look at it in your, say, Apple Mail, okay, cool, and you delete it, and then you pick up your iPad, and it's still there. And that's because POP does not remove it when you delete it from one of your client-based programs. IMAP does. And that's why a lot of people are headed over to IMAP, and a lot of companies are doing it. Because that way, I delete the email here. I don't have to look at it here. I don't have to look at it here. POP requires you to log into Safari, log into Comcast, click the email, delete it there to make it come off the server forever. IMAP will allow you to do that through your client. So a lot of people like IMAP for that reason, because they don't want to have to see it on everything else they have. A lot of companies like POP because that way they have a paper trail forever. So you might take it off your one program, but it's still on a server someplace else. So the problem then is when you set up a new computer and that person logs in with their email, all their old emails pop back up again. So suddenly there's 24,000 emails from the last 10 years that are all back in there again. So that's what the two flavors are, but it sounds like the guy that helped you, or your son, decided he was going to do it his way and nice and easy without checking first what's best for you. So.
well, it was something that worked.
Sure, yeah. Now, another problem is because if you are using an Apple Mail on a G5, you are running 10.5.
Yes.
Yeah. So eventually, the emails are probably going to stop being supported. Sort of like how you are probably aware that if you go to certain websites in Safari on 10.5, they won't let you in because it's no longer supported. They're not going to support something of that age and vintage going forward. So they say, well, you need to update your browser. In your case, updating the browser is not just updating the software, it's updating the hardware. So eventually you'll get to that point where you'll have to make that move. And I'm surprised you haven't already. Yeah.
Well, Jim, that's a great lead because my question is on email also.
Okay.
Particularly Apple email on iOS devices. A couple of months ago, we were doing some presentation, and somebody gave a great tip, and you said, oh my, I didn't know that, and I didn't know it, and I didn't write it down because I thought I'd find it in the meeting minutes, and and nobody captured it. So I'm
Okay.
going to ask, will you have, any way I could ask you to bring up an Apple email,
Mm-hmm.
the emails?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So what you have there is that inbox.
Yep.
Okay, the question was, if you have a lot of items in that inbox,
Mhm.
but you haven't been on your email for a while.
Yep.
And now you want to scroll to the top.
Mhm.
And in some cases, with me, I have to scroll and scroll and scroll to get to the top. There was some magic trick where you could touch somewhere and it went right to the top.
You touched the top where it says inbox. That was on a
On an iPad.
on an iPad or a mobile device,
Yeah.
and we don't do meeting minutes. You have to watch the video.
Right. So, the thing that, because you're right, I remember what you're saying now. So, on an iPad, if you tap where it says inbox and the mail app on the iPad, because I'm having this problem with one account, it keeps going back to June. It goes back like 3 or 4 months. So I tap where it says inbox. If I give it a second and tap it, it brings me back to the current email.
Actually, it's right above inbox.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you type inbox, nothing will happen. It's right above inbox.
Yeah, because technically I tapped inbox, so it's actually.
It's right above. It's right above, and one of the guys who was here who gave that. I think it was Chuck who gave that tip.
I think
That's
so.
not just for mail, that's for any scroll list in iOS or even in Safari. If you tap at the very top of the screen, it will automatically scroll all the way to the top of the screen.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Great feature.
Meeting minutes later.
Recap, memory.
But it's in a video.
One question, how about if you're on your computer and it's found you something from 2016, you just did a search, and what you want to do is get back to the beginning of that list. On the computer, home button. The what?
Hit the home button.
No, on the computer.
No. Yeah, you've got the home button on your keyboard.
What home button?
A home, what?
The one that says
There's a
home?
command arrow equivalent to it, too, probably.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, probably command there up arrow, but on my keyboards, you got the arrow on the bottom.
Doesn't that depend on how old keyboards you have?
No,
Perhaps.
I use a standard extended keyboard, so.
On
Okay.
laptop.
But on a laptop,
On
I,
laptop, no.
yeah, I'm sure there is probably a function key that would allow you to do that, but I don't know what that is. So, okay, Don.
I'll probably get chased out of here, but anybody that uses Gmail, did they dump you into a new version? Because I didn't like it at all. Scroll up and down to get things. So I was able to revert back.
So is this in the Apple Mail app?
Gmail.
Gmail has
The
their own.
Gmail web.
they have-
Oh,
So
I won't chase you out.
Out of here.
I don't use it, so I won't chase you out.
Second thing, anyone looking for a part-time job on Robofest.net? I don't know if you can go there, Dave, or
Ah, sure.
Robofest.net, so I don't get bombarded with emails. They have a part-time job, and it has all the details on what you're supposed to know. Over there on the right-hand side under What's New, where it says New 8/14/18 News,
Yeah.
the job posting is there, basically, and it describes, if you scroll down, Dave, it's right there.
Part-time Robofest coordinator.
Oh, number 3.
Yep.
Those are the programs, might be you, it might be your child, grandchild, or great-grandchild. Needs a part-time job, you need to know Office, Google Cloud Tools, Adobe Illustrator, photo and video editing tools, webinar tools, and web design tools. And Shannon Polonis is the main person you have to email to. So if you know anybody that needs a part-time job, this is very nice group to work with. I've been working with them for almost 20 years now, so. Robofest.net
Yep.
is somewhere to find it.
All right. Thanks, Don.
Question is, not related to this. In Dropbox, and I've been on Dropbox for a long time, and I have some very important to me files that I keep on Dropbox constantly in Excel. And a few years ago, it seems that what they did was give you the ability to use Word, Excel, to alter your documents, to change things on say, my iPad. I can do it on the computer, but on the phone, on mobile devices, if I have an Excel document, XLS, and I want to make a change to it, is there any way I can do that without having a Microsoft 360 account or whatever?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, technically,
Has anybody done this?
numbers should be able to open the Excel file,
Yeah,
but depending on what your macros are in that Excel
I
file.
don't have any, it's just awfully simple.
So there's a possibility that you could use numbers to open it up, make your changes,
Yeah.
and then you would have to do a save and a save as to put it back as an Excel file.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Export, sorry, yeah, not save as. You would save
I'm
it.
afraid to do that because these Excel.
So make a copy of that one document and try that.
Okay.
Because that way you can burn that all day long.
Yeah. Okay, so I can do it using
Numbers should do it for you.
numbers.
Yeah.
Has anybody done it using Word? I actually.
Yes.
Pages will.
Does it work?
Yeah.
I'm always afraid to do it because these files are so important to me. If I miss out anything.
Well, then create a fake document
Okay.
and play with that.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd just like to say, my employer uses Microsoft 360, et cetera, et cetera. If I wanted to save something, I save it to my desktop. You might want to try that as a document in Excel. The problem is I'm using Microsoft Word at work and Pages on the Apple on my Mac, so I found out I can transfer them more or less to type. Save your document, not as a PDF on your desktop.
Yeah. What I want to be able to do is I travel a lot and I don't carry my laptop with me, so I don't have the desktop.
Jump drives.
I have to switch back.
So I would have my iPhone or I would have my iPad mini, and that's how I would be accessing the Dropbox file.
Donna, Excel works without the 365 subscription on the iPad mini. You got it right here.
I'll come over and see what you're doing.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Dave. I've got a question about mail. I want to thin out my inbox,
Okay.
and when I go through and highlight the ones I want to delete,
Yes.
I always have to do it twice because they keep coming back. Any reason why that happens?
Who is your email through?
Apple?
No.
Oh,
Your email address is a Yahoo, a Gmail,
Mac.com.
it's a Mac.com. Okay. So that should be IMAP. Once you dump it, it's gone. But it just keeps coming back on
It comes
you?
back a second time. I've got to do it twice.
At the same, so like within a minute or two or like the next day?
No, within a minute or two.
Is that an unread or read?
Pardon?
If that's an unread message, you'll see it if it's in the trash. So you have to delete it from the trash.
No.
So I've got to do it twice then?
If it's
It's
unread.
not read.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Okay, I've got kind of an unusual situation, I think. I had to have my iPad Pro replaced. Since I've had it replaced, I'm noticing at home when I'm using my Wi-Fi that it continues to disconnect. Now, I've had a Bright House representative tech come in He's made changes on the connections, did all the checking on the Wi-Fi around the modem, et cetera, and so forth, but I'm still having the problem where it is disconnecting.
Okay, just the iPad. Just the iPad is disconnecting? None of your other systems are disconnecting from the Wi-Fi?
Well, at this point, the only thing that I'm using, which is Wi-Fi, is that. Everything else, the other computer is a gig hard connection.
So you're hardwired for that. Okay. My first suggestion would be on the iPad, go to Settings, go to General, scroll to the bottom of it, and where it says Reset, tap on that, and then you can...
I didn't hear the last one.
Okay, so Settings, General, scroll to the bottom of General, tap on Reset. When that window comes up, it gives you options. One of the options, that's the third one down, it's by itself, is Reset Network Settings. By resetting network settings, it forgets every Wi-Fi you've ever connected to with that device. It forgets any Bluetooth you've connected to with that device. You would then, hang tight, you're asked for help, you would then go back up to Wi-Fi, because it'll restart. You go back up to your Wi-Fi, you pick your Wi-Fi, you put in your password, and rejoin it and see if it stays connected.
Now, if I do that with the Wi-Fi, I also have a smart TV which is connected. Will that kick that one out?
No, because you're only doing this to the iPad. Yeah, you're not doing it to the whole system. This is only resetting the network settings for just the iPad. If you had another device, say an iPod Touch, and it's not getting booted off, then I would say, okay, it's just the iPad. If the second or third device was having issues with staying connected as well, then I would say, okay, it's more likely your system putting out the Wi-Fi that's dropping. But the first step would be, and it's painless, reset network settings and see what happens.
Now, if I do the reset, will that interfere with any of the saved tabs? Or I shouldn't say saved, with any of the tabs on any of the browsers I'm using?
No.
No. So are you bookmarking these tabs?
Dave, can you show me what channel you're on the Wi-Fi there, like option clicking?
As soon as I'm finished with him.
Well, this is part of it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to see Wi-Fi?
Yeah, option clicking.
Got it.
Okay. Somewhere there should be a channel number. I can't read it very well.
Channel number 11.
Okay. If this is a relatively new phenomenon, you're disconnecting. It's and you have it, the Bright House guy do stuff. It's possible the channel that you're using from the Bright House gateway box is being conflicted by a neighbor.
Possibly, yes.
There's really only 1, 6, and 11 that don't interfere with each other, but people use things all over. So that's something to check.
Sure.
I don't really want to get into technical with it, but you can get an application that will show you what channels are used. If you see 16 people on channel 11, then you probably shouldn't be on channel 11. You should be on one that has 2 people.
Right. Yeah. So
They've already changed those ones.
okay. So your first step, since it's a replacement iPad, to rule out that it's not the iPad itself that's having struggles, reset network settings. If you stay connected, problem solved. If you still are having issues, the next suggestion would be, okay, restore the iPad through iTunes to replace the software completely. If that doesn't work, then they need to replace your iPad for you again.
Is there any way that I can do it via the phone or Wi-Fi with Apple, where they can test any of the components inside the iPad?
Yes, you can call AppleCare at 1-800-APL-CARE. They can work with you on the pad. They can run a diagnostic test of your iPad to see if it's working like it's supposed to. They will have you reset network settings when they're all done, whether they find a problem or not. I will just tell you that now. So these are the steps that you have to take to solve this problem. Okay? Yes. Do we have any other questions before we get on to the raffle?